still cannot go live because I'm in trouble. I think it's around the 18th that I can come out. Hey, it's Witch Michelle coming at you from Manatee County. Thought I would be back in Pasco today, but that didn't happen. I think Leon might have COVID, so I'm here until next week sometime. Uh, um, if you're on my YouTube channel, it'd be really nice if you give me a like and thumbs up on the video, share it, tell your friends. I've been really bad about even looking at my cards in the last few weeks. Let me just tell you that shadow work takes a lot out of you. I'm tired. I started with a new therapist this week, so that made things a little different for me. Made me bring a lot of stuff up that I really didn't want to deal with and had to because I had to tell my story again. So I was tired about that. And so it's Wednesday, and I'm only just now telling you what my card is. I haven't drawn anything new. Did look at the card on Monday and saw that it was the moon. And so I started just kind of ruminating on that card. Lots of different interpretations for what this card means. Of course, as always in this deck, the Tarot of Transformation, it's going to be different than what you're used to in a traditional tarot deck. In my Robin Wood deck, the moon is wildness, and in this deck, it's peace in the darkness. But in the traditional tarot, it's restlessness, wildness, change, going fey, trying to escape the trappings of civilization, or a civilized world, unfamiliar and conforming. You don't want to be that way. So that's what this is meaning. Like, you're just like, I am not that. And the struggle between wildness and domestication in all of us, which I think is probably a big problem in our country, or maybe even the world at large, is we are not given as humans the freedom to be ourselves and explore what that means and be creative. We're not encouraged to be creative because most people would say, there's no money in singing and there's no money in dancing and only a few people make money doing that. You can't write poetry. Don't be philosopher or anthropologist because there's no money in that. Wasting your money going to college doing that. It's just so many things that we're told not to do because they were told to our parents not to do and their parents before them, or whatever the case may be. And so that's what it means in that deck. But in this deck, it means peace in the darkness. And it's the consciousness of a central figure that is shrouded in darkness. Even though in this card, the sun is in the background, her head is in the darkness. There are birds everywhere in this card. There's eggs incubating under the tree. Eggs are all about birth and change and new things. There's a dove in the card, and the dove is bringing peace, and the subtitle for the card is Peace in the Darkness. It's saying let's just read this because it's pretty fucking interesting. This card has been interpreted in a number of different ways. It often represents black time in the journey and is sometimes considered a dark night of the soul. This phrase is interesting when it's considered in the context of the picture. Not everything is darkness here. The light of the sun shines in the distance. It is the consciousness of the central figure that is shrouded in darkness. There are a number of doves in the picture. One carries a ribbon as it flies into the darkness. The dove is bringing peace, and our subtitle for the card is Peace in the Darkness. We focus here on learning to be at peace during times of sorrow, absence, and the darkness of unknowing. So what I've been talking about mostly this week, which is, and I picked all these cards at random, is just how tired I am and how dark everything feels, and how I thought that as soon as the administration changed, I would feel better. And the reality of the situation is I don't feel any better, and I don't feel any better because really The administration changed, but all the problems that we had leading up to this point are still there. We still have COVID. People are still racist. In fact, worse than they were 4 years ago. They are emboldened to be racist and sexist and to say terrible things to each other and to treat humans with different skin colors differently and different sexual identities differently or worse, or not want them around them at all. And you can choose whoever the fuck you want to hang out with, but you don't get to treat people and make them feel like crap because you don't want to hang out with them. You don't get to do that. You don't get to tell people that their religion is lesser than yours. You don't get to tell them that what they're doing is not godly. You don't get to do any of those things. You can have your opinions, but you don't get to tell people that. Or if you do tell people that, they can reject that and tell you right back to your face, well, I think yours is that way. Or I feel like whatever your opinion is about black people or brown people or women or your religion is not valid as well. I try not to tell people whatever. I mean, for me personally, I think whatever you believe in, if it makes you feel better, is a good fucking thing. But to look at other people because it threatens you or scares you and then makes you treat people in ways that are not kind, that's where we begin to have a problem. So if you look in yourself and you say to yourself, I don't like this kind of person, whatever they are, pick something, a race, or a nationality, a fucking religious viewpoint, a political viewpoint. Why don't you get to know people and maybe ask them questions for why they believe they do? I put out 2 really good TED Talks yesterday. One was about being hippies and what it meant to be a hippie and to be in love with the planet and understand the vibration of all life that's on this planet. That one is a really good one to go look at, and it really made me hunger for being outside. Yesterday, every time I went out the door to do anything in my yard, I didn't wear shoes because I wanted to feel the earth beneath my feet. I had a friend one time that used to come in my backyard and hug my oak trees, and I used to laugh my ass off at this woman. But I totally got it yesterday when that hippie broad was talking about it. And then I think I posted one about why people follow certain people and how in the last 4 years, really, and some people are really going to hate what I'm about to say, but oh well, fuck it. You hate a lot of shit that I say. Donald Trump was a lot like Jim Jones and what happened in Guyana. People were actually led down a road to drink the Kool-Aid. When you say that, there's a meaning behind that. And some of our kids are too young to really understand what that means. But they followed this guy because they believed he had all the answers and he was going to save them. People are constantly looking for someone to save them. I used to think that I was the only person that felt that way. Why am I standing around waiting for somebody to save me? I was ripe for the picking of a cult. I was so lucky that I did not get sucked into something like that. And perhaps if I had had different people around me in my life, I would have believed all the things that Donald Trump said too. It's comforting to have somebody who looks like they're in charge. And if you hold biases that are similar to the cult leaders, that makes it even easier for you to believe all the rest of the rhetoric and lies that came out of his mouth. To sit down and say that Donald Trump was the best president we ever had in the history of the United States is fucking disrespectful to the founders of our country and be simply not true. And honestly, I don't have a lot of love for the founders of our country. I mean, they did the best with what they could, with the knowledge that they had. They were still a bunch of racist motherfuckers, okay? They still believed that black people were to be submissive to white people and to serve us. And that's some fucking bullshit right there. So they were fucked up. They didn't know. But along the journey, we've started to evolve from that whole idea of white is better than black, and then Donald Trump came and let people who never believed that, who sort of had to quiet their shit down, come out of the woodwork. So the darkness is still all around us because those people are still mad. You can feel it. everywhere. I'm so sensitive to the vibe of what's happening outside. So you got people that really think the election was stolen. I mean, Trump started talking about that shit months before it ever happened. So he primed these people up, and the anger didn't go away after January 6th. So the darkness is real. What we're going through right now, what we're all feeling right now, whether you support the last administration or you don't, is some heavy fucking bullshit. There's darkness. But our heads, to the side of where our heads are in the darkness, like in the picture, oh, that's Callie. Like in the picture, there is sunlight out there. We're shrouded in the darkness. It's not what's really true. It's an illusion. The presence of the female figure in the card tells it that this is a feminine process. Oh, wait a second. I'm sorry. There are a number of doves in the picture, and one carries a ribbon as it flies into the darkness. The dove is bringing peace, and our subtitle for the card is Peace in the Darkness. We focus here on learning to be at peace during times of sorrow, absence, and darkness of unknowing, which is where we are now and what I just talked about. We must keep our hearts open to ourselves so that we can have the compassion and holding that we need, and also keep our hearts open to the larger situation. We will not be protected by putting on armor, because putting on armor makes us less sensitive to what's happening around us. So to put shields up all the time, close ourselves all up away from what other people think and feel. You know, I think a better approach to some folks is trying to explain to them why you feel the way you do instead of attacking what they're doing. Well, I don't agree with this, and here's why I don't agree. This is what I think the deal is. So today I wrote a big long diatribe, but it wasn't very kind, but I still feel like it's selfish. If you don't wear a mask and try to protect other people from a pandemic, that's just being selfish. I don't want to catch fucking COVID and die. I don't want anybody in my family to catch COVID and die. So I tried to explain that as best as I could in a kind way, or give my perspective of what I think is happening. I mean, because in Florida, we got a governor that doesn't believe in it. Well, he believes in it. He just believes in dollars more than he believes in people. So again, the brainwashing continues. Like Florida's Guyana right now. We will not be protected by putting on armor. It is in being centered and open that we will perceive the situation more clearly and recognize what needs to be done. The process of the female figure in this card, or the presence of the female figure in this card, tells us that it's a feminine process. In some ways, the message is similar to that of the Hanged Man, who is depicted as a male to represent letting go of or turning upside down the masculine principles of being in charge and leading with a rational mind. In the Robin Wood deck in the traditional tarot, it's also seeing things in a different perspective. He's upside down, so he sees things differently than he did before. The darkness here may involve a similar suspension of life as we know it, yet this process is decidedly feminine. It is a watery, fluid process related to feelings and to waiting something out, and that's what we're doing. We're just waiting something out. At the base of the tree is a nest of eggs. Eggs are symbols of potential and of new life. The nest reminds us that new life and new forms are always coming into being, even when we cannot see them. And we're all really in our nests right now, right? Waiting for something new to happen, some new reality to be birthed. The lesson here is to wait and listen. In order to listen to the subtleties of your feelings and perceptions, you need a certain inner quiet. When your emotions are running rampant, you cannot hear the whispers of the small and still voice within. You particularly need to learn how to keep your fears and insecurities in check. Unless you can bracket these feelings, they will distort your perception. I've been working on my fears and insecurities for almost 6 months now, and I can tell you it's a very difficult, rough process. You have good days, you have good weeks, you have good months, you feel like you're really making big strides, and then boom, you're right back to where you started from. And I'm going to tell you right now, if that happens to you, do not feel bad. Do not feel bad for that process, because it took a long time for you to build up those insecurities and those fears. And those neural pathways are deep and strong and connected to you in your brain. And so to rewrite them and move over them is a process. And the new ones that you have forged in whatever place you are on the path of changing those things up, those are not as deep and ingrained in what they are. Think about the pathways that are over like in Scotland, where they took, those were the roads where they pulled wagons for hundreds of years. And those trenches are still there deep in the earth. And no one has traveled those roads in, maybe a couple of centuries or a couple of 100 years at the very least. And those roads are still there. They're even there like that in Rome and in Greece. There are places where you can still see where they pulled wagons and carts up and down the roads, because that was the way that they did it so long. That was the path that they took. And that path told other people which way to go. And in our brain, those paths are doing the same thing. This is the way you go when you feel like this. This is what you do. You panic, you have anxiety, you're scared, you go into a depression, you stay in your room, or you shut your mouth and you don't say anything when you should be putting up boundaries and telling people, no, you might feel a certain way about things, but other people have perspectives too. And I get to have my perspective, just like you get to have your perspective. And telling me that I need to open my eyes, I have my eyes open. I just see things different. Do I think that I know everything and that my answers are completely correct in the way that I see this administration or the one before it? Fuck no, I'm not a politician. I don't know shit. Do I think I know everything about the virus and how it travels and what happens with people? Fuck no, I'm not a doctor. But I try to read as much as I possibly can from credible news sources, not fucking Fox, OANN, or God forbid, Pat Robertson. I don't do that. Up until the last administration, we believed the World Health Organization. We believed the CDC. We believed all of that stuff. And now suddenly, those people don't know shit. And we believe a witch fucking doctor that thinks that, you can get pregnant from demons. Come on now. And we believe that Q is trying to save babies from being sold on the black market by the Clintons, when all the while the last administration was the one stealing babies and putting them into fucking cages and then losing them. I mean, just think about some shit, dudes. Meanwhile, you're invited to relate to the changes in your life as skillfully as possible with a sense of balance, inner strength, and trust. Avoid jumping to conclusions and getting caught in unnecessary drama. So probably shouldn't be arguing with these people at all. I can post my feelings about what they say or tell you all about what they say and what I think about them here, but arguing with them isn't going to really change anything, because those pathways are pretty fucking dug in, because they're in Guyana and Jim Jones is still leading them. He hasn't put a bullet in his head and filled them with their fucking poison yet. They're not dead yet. They got to die to that first. Peace in the darkness doesn't come with making things larger than life, but rather with letting the noise quiet down and abiding in the inner stillness. When you sit with what is, accepting things unconditionally, surrendering into them, peace can come. When you are drawn to this card, your challenge may be to come to peace with the changes or difficulties that you have not chosen. This could be a major loss in your life, a period of darkness, or the ongoing flux represented by the cyclical changes of the moon. The moon rules fluids. In some traditions, the menstrual cycle is referred to as a woman's moon cycle. Your challenge is to live in harmony with these rhythms. During periods of change, you may experience your feelings as confusing. Can you allow the confusion simply to be there and feeling perspective that, wait a minute, gosh darn it. Can you allow the confusion simply to be there, one feeling following and seeming to contradict the last? If it helps if you can keep the perspective that they're only feelings and that feelings change like clouds moving across the sky. If you can identify with the more spacious nature of the sky, the feelings will not be so disturbing. This is not to suggest that you dismiss your feelings. They contain important information. So do the various expressions of your unconscious. This is a good time to dialogue with your dreams, artistic expressions, body, and intuition. The principle here is not exclusion, but inclusion. The trick is to open it all and not get lost in any of it. It's all part of the changing moon flux of life. So, like the Buddhist monk said, let your feelings in, make friends with them, and then let them go, because they do change all the time. I mean, honestly, that might be something I'm going to do for the next couple of days until I go to the next card. It's kind of like in my journal down what I'm feeling. How do I feel right this minute? Right now, I'm feeling pretty confident. So I'm going to write that down. And I'll write down the time. And then later when some other feeling pops up, I'm going to write that down. And then maybe certain reasons for why. What was I doing? What was happening at that moment? That, and then maybe I can start to see a pattern. I don't know that I'll do it for months, but today seems like a good thing to do. So anyway, if you have any questions or comments about this video, please put them in the dialogue box. Check the notifications button so you always get one. And I should be back live on Facebook on the 18th. Peace.